Vintage road bikes are quietly outperforming classic cars at auction. Steel machines from the 1970s and 80s, hand-built with precision, now sell for 10 times their original price. A Colnago Super, $6,200. A Peugeot PX10 barn find, $1,100. A Confente, $22,000. This countdown reveals the 17 frames climbing fastest right now, and exactly why. Which single frame has become the vintage market's holy grail? Stick around for the answer. Subscribe so you never miss one. Let's start with number 17. Peugeot PX10. Kicking things off at 17, the Peugeot PX10. In 1963, Peugeot's Saint-Étienne Racing Division introduced this frame. Reynolds 531 double-butted tubing, a 72-degree parallel geometry, and a complete build weight of 22.5 pounds at a price no Italian rival could match. French club racing had an access problem, and this solved it. The PX10 placed top 10 at the 1967 Tour de France and became the most entered frame at the British Amateur Road Championships through the 1970s. For a generation of British and North American riders, the white and black Peugeot was the first real racing bike they ever touched. Original matching component examples now sell between $900 and $1,400, with a 1972 team issue example reaching $2,100 in late 2025. That trajectory forced collectors to reconsider every barn find Peugeot in storage and set the stage for an Italian rival that redefined what production steel could do. Bianchi Specialissima. Next up at 16, the Bianchi Specialissima. In 1970, Bianchi's Treviglio factory released this frame. Columbus SL tubing, a 73.5-degree seat tube, a frame set weight of 2.1 kilograms, and investment cast crown dropouts years ahead of production norms. Italian racing teams needed a machine that could survive Milan-San Remo cobbles and still climb. The existing Bianchi catalog offered neither. Felice Gimondi won the 1973 Giro di Lombardia on 1, and the frame-topped Cycling magazine's Italian production rankings 5 consecutive years. Among collectors today, an original Specialissima in Celeste with period Campagnolo Nuovo record is a complete artifact, not a parts bike. Clean examples moved from $1,800 in 2022 to over $3,200 in 2025, a 78% increase in 3 years. That climb pushed buyers north toward a Belgian maker working in an entirely different material. Eddy Merckx, Professional. 15 takes us to Brussels, the Eddy Merckx Professional. In 1974, the greatest road racer alive launched his own frame company, and this was the result: Columbus SL, a 71-degree head angle for crosswind stability, and a 72mm bottom bracket drop that Merckx had refined over 11 professional seasons. Belgian teams needed something that worked on cobblestones, not just alpine roads, and this delivered exactly that. De Vlaeminck finished second at Paris-Roubaix on 1 in 1975, and 3 major European press reviews named it the cobblestone benchmark. A 56-centimeter professional in original silver sold for $3,800 at a Brussels estate sale in March 2025, a figure that would have been unthinkable 5 years earlier. That proved the Merckx name carried financial weight beyond nostalgia and pushed the market toward a Milanese family building on craftsmanship alone. De Rosa Primato. Now we're into the 14s, the De Rosa Primato. In 1972, Ugo de Rosa and his brothers in Milan completed this frame. Columbus SL throughout, a 0.9mm seat tube wall, thinner than any comparable production frame, fully hand-filed lugs, and a brazed chainstay reinforcement plate visible from 30 centimeters. De Rosa sat in the middle tier of Italian builders and intended to leave it. Heinelt trained on one during his early professional seasons, and Velo magazine's 1977 technical spread called its lug finishing. the finest seen outside a custom builder. Among Italian steel collectors, the Primato is the entry point into serious buying, the minimum threshold before a collection is taken seriously. Verified examples have cleared $3,500 since mid-2024, with a 54 centimeter reaching $5,200 in Paris. That ceiling redirected attention to the builder, whose frames were crossing $6,000 with increasing regularity. Colnago Super. 13 brings us back to Cambiago, the Colnago Super. In 1968, Ernesto Colnago's workshop released this frame, 45mm star profile fork blades reducing frontal area while increasing lateral stiffness, a 74-degree head angle, and a 560mm chainstay that Merckx himself described as balanced for every type of road. No production builder had solved the geometry problem of serving both sprinters and climbers. Merckx won the 1971 Milan-San Remo, the 1972 Tour, and the 1973 Worlds on Colnago Supers, the most race-proven production steel of its generation. A 55-centimeter Super with original pantographed Campagnolo group set reached $6,200 at a Milanese estate auction in September 2025. The Colnago name has crossed from collectible into investment, which raised an immediate question about a British competitor building from first principles without the Italian playbook. If this kind of deep dive is your thing, hit subscribe. What's coming up next are the frames now crossing 5 figures. Holdsworth Cyclone. 12 crosses the channel, the Holdsworth Cyclone. In 1965, W.F. Holdsworth of London released this frame. Reynolds 531 throughout, hand-brazed twin-plate fork crowns, a 73.5-degree parallel geometry, and a frame set weight of 1.95 kilograms, lighter than most Italian equivalents, landing in the UK. British club riders faced a 40% import premium on Italian steel, and the Cyclone removed that barrier. It carried British national champions for 3 consecutive years, from 1966 to 1968, and Cycling Weekly called it the top value frame for serious club racing in 1969. For British riders, a Cyclone was a statement that domestic craft could match anything from Milan. Clean originals now fetch $800 to $1,500, with premium colors crossing $2,000. And that appreciation pushed buyers toward another British maker, whose custom geometry approach was even more exacting. Mercian King of Mercia. 11 stays in England. The Mercian King of Mercia. In 1971, Mercian Cycles in Derby built this frame to 0.5mm tolerance on every critical junction. Reynolds 531 main triangle, 531C chainstays, and lug selection matched to each customer's weight and riding style. Italian frames were built around Mediterranean proportions. The King of Mercia was built around whoever ordered it. A frame carried Peter Keane, Chris Boardman's coach, through his early competitive seasons, and a 1979 cycling profile called it the only British production frame offering genuine custom geometry without custom pricing. Pre-1985 examples have climbed from $600 to $900 3 years ago to $1,400 and above in 2025, and the pace of that appreciation is not slowing. That acceleration sent buyers looking at a French factory doing something remarkable with yellow paint and a professional team contract no domestic builder had managed before. Gitane Tour de France. We're into the top 10 now, and it starts with the Gitane Tour de France. In 1975, Gitane's Machicool factory produced this frame: Reynolds 531 top and down tubes, Columbus SL chainstays, a 73-degree parallel geometry, and chrome moly fork blades heat-treated to reduce sprint flex. No French builder had attempted that hybrid specification at team supply scale. Hinault won his first tour in 1978 on a Gitane, and the frame appeared on Grand Tour podiums 12 times between 1976 and 1981. For French riders of the late 1970s, the yellow and black Gitane was a national emblem, the machine that proved France still owned the sport it invented. Original Hinault-era examples now exceed $2,500, with documented team-issue frames reaching $4,800. That provenance premium sent the market toward a Japanese builder whose documentation told a completely different kind of story. Miyata 1000. 9 heads east. The Miyata 1000. In 1977, Miyata's Kasukabe factory released this frame, double-butted chromoly, to 0.6 mm wall thickness at center section, with brazed joints held to a 0.3 mm tolerance across the entire frame, tighter than the best Italian production of the period. Japan applied automotive manufacturing discipline to bicycle frames, and the result won 4 consecutive All-Japan Road Championships from 1979 to 1982. Bicycle Guide magazine in 1980 said its lug filing was indistinguishable from Italian hand-built work under magnification, a verdict that surprised the entire import market. Values climbed from $400 to $700 in 2020 to $1,200 to $2,000 in 2025, with NOS boxed examples reaching $3,100. That forced a market recalibration and pointed buyers toward an Italian builder who had rejected steel entirely, Allen Record. 8 takes us somewhere unexpected, the Allen Record. In 1972, the Allen Company in Padova introduced this frame. Aerospace-grade 6061 aluminum bonded with 2-part epoxy at machined alloy lugs, producing a frame set at 1.4 kilograms, 600 grams lighter than the best steel alternatives. TIG welding for bicycles was not yet accessible. Bonding aluminum was considered experimental. Allen made it work. Francesco Moser trained on an Allen during his 1984-hour record buildup, and Velo, in 1978, called it the first viable alternative to steel for professional road racing. Allen produced fewer than 12,000 frames total. Documented examples now reach $3,500 to $5,000, with NOS originals commanding $7,200. That scarcity premium set the aluminum collector market in motion and pointed straight toward a French builder pushing the same material even further. Vitus 979. 7 is a frame that had to prove everyone wrong. The Vitus 979. In 1979, Vitus of Saint-Étienne introduced this frame, precision-extruded 2014 aerospace aluminum sections bonded at machined alloy joints with a proprietary cold-setting adhesive. Total frame set weight, 1.26 kilograms, lighter than any rival in any material at that moment. The European press refused to take it seriously. Steel orthodoxy said a frame that was not brazed was not a frame. Robert Miller rode a Vitus 979 to a stage win at the 1984 Tour de France anyway, and ACBB Paris adopted it for 3 consecutive seasons. Values have risen from under $500 in 2019 to $1,800 to $2,800 today, with race use examples reaching $4,100. That rise sent collectors back to Italy, toward one name so associated with precision finish that owning one became a statement of connoisseurship. Cinelli Super Corsa. 6 is where the list starts to feel like a museum. The Cinelli Super Corsa. In 1948, Cino Cinelli's Milan workshop completed the first example. Columbus tubing with internal lug walls profiled to match tube outside diameter to 0.1 mm tolerance, hand-filed at every junction, reducing stress concentration by an estimated 15% over standard lug brazing. Post-war Italian cycling needed a physical object that could carry national pride, and Cinelli understood that precision finish was not cosmetic, but symbolic. Fausto Coppi was photographed on a Super Corsa at the 1952 Giro d'Italia, and Cinelli appeared on every major Italian podium through the 1960s. Pre-1965 examples have reached $8,500, with a 1958 Coppi-era Super Corsa in original chrome and cream selling for $11,200 in 2025. That price pointed directly to the atelier builder, who made fewer than 400 frames in a lifetime. Marastoni Corsa. 5 is a name most people have never heard, and that's exactly the point. The Marastoni Corsa. In 1958, Giacinto Marastoni established his atelier in Bassano del Grappa. Fewer than 400 Corsa frames are believed to exist. He hand-selected every Columbus tube lot, specified a custom wallpaper not in the standard catalog, filed every lug to a standard he called invisible joins, and signed each frame personally under the bottom bracket. No Marastoni has ever been documented in professional racing. He refused team contracts. Restoration specialists rate its construction above team issue Colnago, Masi, and De Rosa. A documented 1963 Corsa with full original Campagnolo record reached $14,000 at auction in 2024. That established Marastoni as the benchmark for rarity-driven value and pushed buyers toward the man who crossed the Atlantic to prove Italian quality had no geography. Masi Volumetrica. 4 is where Italian craft met California ambition, the Masi Volumetrica. In 1976, Faliero Masi's Carlsbad, California operation introduced this frame, Columbus SL throughout, a proprietary double-radius lug profile distributing braze stress across 40% more contact area than standard Italian lugs, a 73-degree parallel geometry, and a frame set weight of 1.85 kilograms. American road cyclists were paying import premiums and waiting months for Italian steel. Masi brought the atelier to them. His California frames reached national championship podiums in 1978 and 1979. Bicycling Magazine's 1977 technical special called it the finest frame available in America regardless of origin. Documented examples now run $4,500 to $7,000, and a 1978 Carlsbad Masi with full Campagnolo Super record reached $9,800 in early 2026, a new American-built steel record that pointed to the one man inside Masi's own shop who built fewer than 140 frames and left the market no choice but to chase them. Pogliaghi Strada. 3. And now we're in rarefied air. The Pogliaghi Strada. In 1960, Sante Pogliaghi's Milan atelier produced this frame using Columbus special tubing and custom-profiled lugs he machined in-house. The lug point filing is so fine it requires magnification to locate the junction. The chrome treatment runs a minimum of 7 stages, producing a surface depth no production builder has ever matched. Pogliaghi refused every team supply contract. Every frame received his personal attention. Restoration specialists consistently rated above team issue Colnago, Masi, and De Rosa. A 58-centimeter 1967 Strada in original chrome and celeste reached $16,500 at a Milan specialist sale in November 2025, ahead of most production Ferraris on a per-kilogram value basis. That forced the market to look harder at the frame at number 2, chronically undervalued for what it represents. Confente Mario. 2. And this one still haunts the market. The Confente Mario. In 1974, Mario Confente, Masi's master builder in Carlsbad, produced the first frame under his own name. He died at 36. In 4 years, he completed fewer than 140 frames, working exclusively in Columbus SL with internally profiled custom lugs of his own design. He held lug-to-tube joint tolerance to 0.05 millimeters, tighter than any other documented American builder, and tested every frame for alignment to a 0.1 millimeter standard on a jig he built himself. One Confente appeared in documented racing. the 1977 Red Zinger Classic. Bicycle Quarterly's 2022 retrospective called its construction quality greater than any production steel frame ever made in any country. A verified original reached $22,000 at a California specialist auction in 2025, the most valuable American bicycle frame in history. Only one thing could surpass it: Colnago Arabesque. And the #1 spot, it couldn't be anything else. The Colnago Arabesque. In 1970, Ernesto Colnago commissioned this frame. Over 40 hours of individual handwork per unit, fewer than 200 complete examples surviving in original condition. It used Columbus SL in Colnago's tightest specification, with arabesque pattern engraving covering 100% of lug egg surface area, hand-applied over 14 to 16 hours per frame set by a single designated craftsman, combined with the race-proven 74-degree head angle and star profile fork blades from the Super. No professional team rode one. Colnago was not making a race bike. He was declaring that the finest bicycle maker in the world could also produce the finest decorative metalwork in cycling. A 54-centimeter arabesque in original chrome and red sold for $38,000 at a Milanese specialist auction in January 2026. The highest verified price ever paid for a vintage road bicycle at public auction. Dealers report every clean example now sells before it reaches public listing. From a Peugeot PX10 that made road racing accessible to a generation, through the Japanese precision of the Miyata 1000, the aluminum breakthroughs of the Allen Record and Vitus 979, the artisan rarity of the Marastoni and the Confente, and up to the Colnago Arabesque at $38,000. This countdown has traced the full arc of what road bicycle design achieved in 3 decades of steel and aluminum construction. These bikes are not appreciating because of nostalgia. They are appreciating because the people who built them solved real engineering problems with craft the mass production era abandoned, and the market has spent 50 years catching up to that fact. If you want more deep dives into the frames and gear quietly climbing into 5-figure territory, subscribe. The next video covers the vintage group sets following these bikes up in value, and some of those numbers will surprise you. Which frame on this list do you already own or wish you did? Drop it in the comments below.